Hello and welcome to the History of Star Trek, Jadzia Dax edition. Jadzia Dax was a joined Trill and the eighth host of the Dax Symbiont from 2367 to 2374. She was a Starfleet science officer who served on board Space Station Deep Space Nine under the command of Captain Benjamin Sisko. Jadzia Dax was born in 2341 on Stardate 23634.1 on Trill, where she grew up with her mother, father, and sister. Although Jadzia was always shy and a quiet child, she was quite driven by her ambitions to one day be joined to a symbiote. She spent much of her early life focusing on achieving her goals and would become the only member of her family to be joined. Prior to her joining, Jadzia attended Starfleet Academy and appealed to the Trill Symbiote Commission for joining after graduation. While at the Academy, she earned premier distinctions in astrophysics, exoarchaeology, exobiology, and zoology. After working hard, she was initially rejected for joining and eliminated from the program by her field docent, Curzon Dax, in 2364. The reason he gave for this decision was that Jadzia lacked purpose. After Curzon's initial decision, she successfully reapplied that same year and became the only Trill in history to successfully complete the program after having been rejected. She described herself as going as a different woman into the program and tore through it with a passion. The experience of her initial rejection would haunt her for years to come and was the only reason why she never had positive feelings about returning to Trill. She never could understand why she was washed out of the program by Curzon. She was joined to Dax in 2367 after the death of Curzon. After being approved for the joining, she had heard of Curzon's deteriorating health and requested that she receive the Dax symbiote after Curzon's death. Later, during her Zatin Terra, she learned that Curzon's reason for rejecting her original applications were personal, since he had actually fallen in love with her. After being joined to Dax, Jadzia's training and experiences made the adjustments to having 7 different lifetimes of memories and experiences relatively easy. Once shy, hardworking, and dedicated, Jadzia became a lively, confident, and outgoing person with a passion for life. Jadzia was very comfortable with who she was. She was later described by Garrick as vital, alive. She owned herself. After joining, Jadzia picked up the habits of her previous hosts, such as clasping her hands behind her back, taking up Klingon martial arts, an interest in Klingon culture, or playing tango. Even as an ensign and lieutenant junior grade in Starfleet, she had dealings with many prominent officers. She was acquainted with Captain Kogue, though the two did not get along. She was also friends with Captain Shelby, who even owed her a favor, which Jadzia eventually cashed in on. She also had connections to several old friends of Curzon. In 2369, 28-year-old Lieutenant Jadzia Dax was assigned as science officer on board Deep Space Nine under the command of Benjamin Sisko, who had been a friend of Curzon. Shortly after her assignment to the station, Jadzia and Sisko discovered the Bajoran wormhole, opening a new era in Federation history. Later that year, Jadzia stood trial for crimes that Curzon had allegedly committed during the Klazeron Civil War. Though she was ultimately cleared of the charges, Jadzia had been willing to accept a guilty verdict in order to protect the honor of Curzon and Enia. In 2370, the Dax symbiote was removed from Jadzia and kidnapped by an unjoined Trill, Varad, who believed that he had been cheated of being joined. He was briefly joined by the Dax symbiote, becoming Virad Dax, before he was apprehended and Dax was rejoined with Jadzia. After she was rejoined with the symbiote, Virad's memories, cold and afraid, stayed with her for the rest of her life. That same year, Jadzia kept an oath made by Curzon with his Klingon brothers. His friends' sons had been killed by the Albino, a master criminal against whom the Four vowed vengeance. At first they were reluctant to accept her into their group, but she successfully persuaded them. She participated in the attack that killed the Albino. However, 2 of the 3 Klingons were also killed. Later, Jadzia was threatened with the removal of Dax a second time in 2371, when it was discovered that a previously undisclosed host, Joran, had been a psychotic. This previously unknown host was a skilled musician who had a violent temper and killed people, including the doctor who recommended that he be dropped from the program. Jadzia had unknowingly begun to manifest some of Joran's musical talents. The Trill Symbiosis Commission had accepted the memories of Joran, blocked from both symbiote and host, but they began to resurface and threatened to cause Jadzia to reject Dax. Dr. Bashir then recommended that he and Commander Sisko take Dax back to Trill for treatment from the doctors of the Symbiosis Commission, as Dr. Bashir's knowledge of Trill biology, specifically symbiotes, was limited. Subsequent investigations by Commander Sisko and Dr. Bashir uncovered the existence of Joran Dax. Under the threat of exposing their great secret, that 1 in 2 Trills were capable of joining, not generally believed 1 in 10,000. The Commission agreed to restore Joran's memories by allowing the memories to completely surface and reintegrate them into her mind, which ultimately equalized the symbiosis and saved Jadzia's life. In 2371, Jadzia helped Kor and Worf retrieve the Sword of Kahless, saving it from being taken by Torel, a usurper to the leadership of the Klingon High Council. Jadzia joined Worf on Martok's ship, the IKS Rataran. The crew was lax and had no fighting spirit, due to the constant defeats by the Jem'Hadar. She helped instill Klingon pride and spirit in them, which contributed them to winning their first battle. She also helped Benjamin Sisko capture Michael Eddington, a former Starfleet officer on Deep Space Nine who had joined the Maquis. Jadzia became an important figure during the Dominion War. With the threat of invasion, Jadzia commanded the Defiant in a mission to mine the Bajoran wormhole. She was ordered to do this to prevent further Dominion reinforcements from coming through. Ultimately, this action was the catalyst that began the war. After Deep Space Nine was taken by the Cardassian Dominion fleet, Jadzia piloted the Defiant to safety. Soon after, she became involved in several battles with the Dominion on board the Defiant. During a mission to destroy a Ketchacell White facility in Cardassian space, the Dax symbiote was badly injured from the explosion. Jadzia, along with the rest of the crew, was rescued soon thereafter by the Rataran. In early 2374, Jadzia was given command of the Defiant by Admiral Ross, after he promoted Captain Sisko to be his adjutant. When it was uncovered that a major reason for the Dominion's dominance was a sensor array monitoring all activity across 5 sectors, Jadzia commanded a successful mission to destroy it. She was on board the Defiant for the operations return, and was present for Sisko's near-suicidal mission into the wormhole to stop the Dominion reinforcements from coming through. Fortunately, the Prophets intervened, saving Dax and the rest of the crew of the Defiant. Jadzia was left in command of Deep Space Nine when the Federation and Allied forces went on the offensive at the Battle of Chintoka. With the majority of the crew away from the station, Gul Dukat, controlled by a Pa Wraith, was able to beam aboard with the intent of releasing the Pa Wraiths into the Sacred Orb in order to imprison the Prophets in the wormhole. Jadzia unsuccessfully tried to stop Dukat and was fatally injured in the process. Her symbiote was saved and transferred to another Trill, Ezri Tegan, who became Ezri Dax. Jadzia's relationship with Worf. During her first few years on Deep Space Nine, Jadzia was romanced by both Dr. Julian Bashir and Quark. Neither of them proved able to win her heart, though, and it was in 2372, Lieutenant Commander Worf was reassigned to the station and met Jadzia Dax for the first time. With her impressive knowledge of Klingon history and society, Worf found her a singular companion. As their relationship grew, so did their interest in each other, and ultimately the two fell in love. They became romantically involved in early 2373. At this time, Worf was pursuing Gilka, an attractive Klingon female. However, since Mog's family honor had been disgraced, Gilka could not possibly mate with Worf. Jadzia helped him deal with the disappointment by assisting him in courting Gilka through Quark. In the end, though, it was Jadzia and Worf who discovered their attraction for each other. In 2374, they were married, and Jadzia became a member of the House of Martok, despite the initial objections of Martok's wife, Sorella. The marriage proved strong. By late 2374, Jadzia and Worf had decided to attempt parenthood, despite the extreme difficulties posed by the differing biologies of Trills and Klingons. With the help of Dr. Bashir, who administered the ovarian resequencing enzymes, it looked as if Jadzia would be able to conceive. In thanks, she visited the Bajoran temple on the promenade, where she was attacked and killed by Gul Dukat, who had been possessed by a Pa wraith seeking the destruction of the orb kept in the temple. In 2375, Worf led a mission to destroy the Dominion shipyards at Manek 4. He dedicated this mission to his late wife in order to ease her entrance into Stovokor. Thank you for watching the history of Jadzia Dax. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you can. If you already have, thank you, and have a nice day. Bye-bye!